It seems like it's the same old story every year with the Chicago Bears. They win the offseason, and then the regular season starts, and they don't perform up to the expectation. I don't know how they do it. They're always so captivating during the offseason. They draft well, they make smart offseason moves, they add the right guys, and then the season starts, and things just don't go the way that anyone really expects. Yet, I still have them at number 14. Why is that? Well, I think this time they landed a head coach that should take them in the right direction. I think that's the big difference. Yeah, last year they stacked up that receiver core, and it should have worked really well with Caleb Williams, their first overall pick, operating under center. But they made a really bad offensive coordinator hiring, and Matt Eberflus wasn't a very good head coach. Now they replaced him, they brought in Ben Johnson, and it doesn't matter if you do all the right stuff. If you don't have the right head coach, you don't have a good coordinator, and your quarterback's young, things aren't going to go well. Now, Ben Johnson, an offensive minded head coach, took over the team to help Caleb Williams. I think that's what this is really about this year. I think they're going to be a good team, but even if they're not, if Caleb Williams could just perform and prove that he was worth that number one overall pick, this is a successful season for Chicago. Will that happen? Well, I have them at number 14 for a reason. I think they will be a good team, and I think Caleb Williams is going to look a lot better. I think at bare minimum, this is going to be a good litmus test for Caleb Williams. This is a quarterback who, like I said, had no structure to work with last year. This is a quarterback that was awful in structure, both at the college level and especially awful at the NFL level. That's his biggest flaw. But when you don't have structure, it's hard to get him used to playing in structure. Yes, he's a very good backyard ball quarterback, but if that's all you're going to ask him to do, he's never going to truly adjust to this league. Ben Johnson is going to establish structure around him. He's going to make sure he knows how to play under structure. And if he doesn't play well in the structure of this offense, well, I think the answer is clear. Caleb Williams was not worth that draft pick. This is what it's going to come down to. Ben Johnson, if you can't make Caleb work, Caleb isn't going to work. Period. That is truly how I look at this. Now, yes, Ben Johnson hasn't been a head coach before, but Ben Johnson has been a part of a rebuilding team before, a very successful rebuild in Detroit. He knows how to put an offense together. We saw that Detroit offense was dominant. And now we look at the pieces surrounding Caleb. It's great. It is truly great. DJ Moore is the wide receiver one. I know he's coming off a down year, but everyone was having a down year with Chicago last year. Luther Burden added him through the draft. That was a really nice addition. And Rome Odunze was a top 10 pick. Then you have probably the best tight end duo in football with Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland was a top 10 pick for them. Colston Loveland is going to be more of that slot tight end, and Cole Kmet is going to be more of that traditional inline tight end. But helping a young quarterback goes beyond just giving them pieces to help them operate. It also includes allowing the offense to operate without Caleb having a great game. Okay, they have a true running game here. I like their running back duo of DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson, but beyond that, they now have a very good offensive line. It went from one of the worst in football last year, which looked even worse because Caleb Williams was holding the ball too long, to now a unit that is outstanding. Like, there are some great names here. Joe Thuney was great. Darnell Wright, very, very good offensive tackle for them. Jonah Jackson, someone that's familiar with the Ben Johnson offensive unit. That's the thing here. Ben Johnson fixed Jared Goff, a quarterback that Sean McVay wanted to get rid of and move on from. How did he do that? He surrounded him with pieces, and he gave the offense around him legitimate structure. We're no longer going to have receivers breaking right next to each other in the same direction. We're no longer going to have all the receivers huddled up in one area. The offense is now going to have proper spacing. The receivers are going to break at certain yard marks to make sure that the defense has problems. Ben Johnson is going to give the defense problems. Point blank period. That's all he needs to do. And now we're going to see, how can Caleb Williams operate in a true NFL offense? Because with Shane Waldron, that's not what he had. let alone the talent. I think it's a very talented offensive unit, but beyond that, the scheme, the fact there is a true scheme in place, the fact that they're going to help him with a legitimate running game, that should make all the difference in the world. Because Caleb Williams, we know he has one-of-one improvisational ability. We know he has a one-of-one arm. He needs to learn how to play in structure. He wasn't able to do that last year because there was no structure for the offense. Now there is something for him to work around. Jared Goff and Detroit's success came from more than just great players. It came from more than just a head coach. It came from some damn good coordinator hirings. And I think Ben Johnson is doing the same exact thing here. Hiring Dennis Allen to coach up the defense is a slam dunk, in my opinion. Dennis Allen might have not been a great head coach, but he was a pretty solid defensive coordinator with the Saints. And now I think he has a group of guys around him that is perfect for his 4-2 system. Dennis Allen's defensive strategy is very simple. He wants defensive linemen that defend the run, and he wants guys in the secondary that defend the pass well. The D-line isn't great at getting to the quarterback, but damn can they stop the run. Montez Sweat, Andrew Billings, Grady Jarrett, all of those guys are run stoppers and damn good ones. The secondary is really the highlight here. They have a very dynamic trio of Tyreek Stevenson, Jalen Johnson, who's been one of the NFL's most underrated defenders since he was drafted, and Tyler Gordon holding down the nickel spot. And then the safety room is solid too. Kevin Byard might have lost a few steps now that he's later in his career, but Jaquan Brisker is still a phenomenal strong safety who can come into the box and do the dirty work. But he's able to stay up high in coverage because they have TJ Edwards. They have Tremaine Edmonds, who are good coverage linebackers that could also defend the run pretty well. On top of that, Dennis Allen is going to ask them to run a lot of man coverage. Do they have guys that could hold up in that? I think absolutely. Those two linebackers, like I said, they're never going to be truly mismatched, okay? There's not a running back they can't cover. There's not a tight end they can't cover. And those guys at the corner spot are all very good. They're going to hold up well in man coverage. The pass rush won't be great, but the defensive line should be able to stop the run pretty well. This is going to be a good defensive unit with a smart defensive coordinator that has been there, done that. I'm very optimistic about that defense, and I think the offense has a lot of upside. This should be a really good Bears team. Let's see how their record looks in a competitive NFC North. So, I have the Bears in the top 14, yet I have them finishing with a losing record. That's insane. And you're right, it is insane. But then you look at the schedule and you see it's an absolute gauntlet. Absolute gauntlet. Week 1, you're playing against the Minnesota Vikings. That's a very good football team. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy's out there, and that's why I have the Bears winning. The game's in Chicago. McCarthy's first real NFL regular season game. Okay, fine. I'll give the Bears the edge there. But that's going to be a tough matchup. I think Detroit's very good. I do. Now, I understand the argument. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. A little bit of an adjustment period, but the Bears are also going through their own adjustment period. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the home team in Detroit. Now, Cowboys, I think that's a win. I think the Bears should definitely win that one. I don't think the Cowboys are an overly good team. But then the Raiders can give a lot of teams problems. A lot of teams problems. The game is in Las Vegas. The Raiders are this team that has a very good running back in Ashton Jeanty, but they're going to be able to throw the ball well with Geno Smith. They're just going to be able to beat you in a lot of different ways. And again, the Bears are going through this a little bit of an adjustment period. Young quarterback going out there. I think the Raiders will kind of catch them lacking a little bit here as they head into their bye week. But then week 6, you beat a team that made it to the NFC Championship last year at their home stadium. Yeah, that's a big win. Like, this is the annoying thing here. If you're a Bears fan, you should be pissed. Because there's not a single, easy win in this first 6 weeks, right? I mean, maybe the Cowboys you would describe as an easy win? Sure, but that's it. That's the only, gimme. It's really that and the bye week are the only gimmies, right? Week 7 should be an easy win, but then you have to go off against the Ravens in Baltimore. John Harbaugh coming off a bye week. That's a really difficult game, man. And I don't think the Bears have quite the athletes that can allow them to really beat Lamar Jackson, especially coming off a bye week well rested. Then week 9, they're going to win this one, but the Bengals are going to give a lot of teams problems because they're going to light up the scoreboard. And the Bears are going to have to respond lighting up the scoreboard their own way. We know Ben Johnson can do that, but still. Then the Giants, okay, that's a win. You feel good about that one, but then the Vikings, now they're going to go ahead and get their revenge after losing last time. I think they split that series. Minnesota's the home team here. J.J. McCarthy's more accustomed to the league at this point. You got to give the Vikings that win. Steelers, Bears can kind of go either way. I gave this one to Pittsburgh. Kind of a coin toss on that one, though. You don't know what Pittsburgh team you're getting. Then, Week 13, Philly. We know what they can do, man. They are so talented all over the place. The Bears going into Philly, it's just going to be really tough to beat them. Now, maybe Caleb Williams can make some plays, but that's the thing. You need Caleb Williams to have a really good day, and you need some of those Eagles players, whether it's Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts, to kind of have a bad day. The Packers, I have the Bears winning in Green Bay. Now, this is going to be a tough matchup. What is it going to come down to? Because these two teams are going to play against each other twice. I think the Bears will be able to score pretty much at will against this Green Bay team. Like, I feel pretty good about how this Bears team offense matches up against that Packers defense. But I think around now, the Packers are starting to get their stuff together on the defensive side of the ball. So it should still be a troublesome one. The Browns aren't overly good, so I'm giving that one to Chicago. But then Week 16, I just think that's a split between Green Bay and Chicago. Then Week 17, San Fran, you have to go all the way over there. That's what really hurts them here. Losing 3 straight, it's just going to really hurt. But you could say by now Caleb Williams has more time to adjust to the Ben Johnson offense. Maybe you give him an upset in one of these last 3 weeks. Maybe 2 out of the 3, right? I feel like the Bears are going to win one of the 2 Green Bay games, and then the Packers will win the other. But then maybe you have them upsetting San Fran, but traveling that far, I don't really know, man. I think that pass rush is also going to get in Caleb's face. And that's what you have to keep in mind here, too. Caleb Williams, he needs to learn kind of what the speed of the NFL is supposed to feel like. He holds the ball too long, and that could be a problem against a team like San Francisco. And then Detroit, this one I could see being an upset. The game's in Chicago, but Detroit is playing for a little bit more at this point. Right now, Chicago has 8 wins. I mean, yeah, they're kind of fighting for a playoff spot, but it seems unlikely at this point. The NFC is just going to be so competitive. You got to have 10 wins, and they're just going to be a little bit outside of that. They could start to put it together later in the season. I have the Bears losing out in those last 3 weeks, though. It could end a lot of different ways, but the point is the Bears don't really have many easy weeks, and that's what makes it so difficult for a young team with a new head coach. You would like for them to have weeks that they could look back and really grow, but they have to always be looking ahead. They can never really learn mid-season. It's just tough because they're so young with such a tough schedule. It's rough for the Bears, but that's how I have their season playing out. Still a very good team, much better than their record.